Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Gear Talk, and this time I'm going to talk to you about the Yashica Mat 124G. Before we begin, as usual, if you want to support the channel, please put a like, subscribe and share it with your friends. And check out my books, you can find them on my website or on Amazon, and there's Photography, the F manual, all you need to know about photography. Lasting Photographs, beautiful novel with very nice reviews online, and the plot is a photographic plot, so you can enjoy it. And Fine Art Inkjet Printing. Also, if you shoot with film, sometimes you probably like to print in the inkjet after you scan the images, and here there's everything you need to know to produce fine art prints with your inkjet printer. This said, the camera of this time is Yashica Mat 124G. I got this camera for free. Was a neighbor of my sister was moving out and emptied the house, and so my sister collected this for me, and I got this camera. It's beautiful. It's basically new. I have no idea how many rolls were shot with this camera, but looking at the press plate of the film, probably less than 10. So great camera that I got, and I got it with this leather case that is really nice. If you like to go around with that your bag just to take some casual pictures and this kind of things, you don't want to have your heavy bag, this is great. You put a film, go around and just take the pictures. And one of the most important thing is for every camera and every lens, and was with this, is the lens hood. And the lens hood is something that I don't see used a lot. I see people going around sometime on YouTube channels. You see people going around and taking pictures and all these kind of things like I'm the best in the world, but with the lens hood inverted on the lens. That is just the most stupid things you can do. The quality and the micro contrast and everything of the image with the lens hood improves a lot. You don't want parasite light reaching your lens. If the parasite light reach your lens, you lose a lot of micro contrast. So this was a great thing, and a lens hood is something you really always have to use. This said, this Yashica Mat, I never tried a Yashica Mat before, so I decided to put 2 rolls in it, and you can see some images here. And after you see the images, I can explain you about the camera. Some of the images are well overexposed because I tested the meter of this camera. I noticed right away it was way off, but I still took 2 or 3 frames with the settings just to check how much was off. I didn't have the exposure meter with me on the first roll. The second roll, after I kind of fixed the meter, I used anyway my external meter, and I noticed that still with the changing on the resistors inside, I was not able to reach the perfect exposure, still kind of a stop underexposed. So here you see the images. Talking about the camera, the Yashica Mat the Model G was produced between 1970 and 1983. So, it was the evolution of the 124 normal. What I had more is some gold-plated contacts on the exposure meter switch and a few other things. And it's black instead of chrome. Chrome is very nice when you look at it, but when you take pictures and you have something reflective in front, chrome is much more visible because it's very light. The dark cameras reflects less, so I kind of like dark cameras. This said, beautiful camera. There's the lens is an 80mm Yashica f3.5, and the good things about this camera is that the viewfinder lens is a 2.8, so it's very bright. If you check inside, you see that it's very bright, so it's very easy to focus the camera. When you open the viewfinder, there's a switch that turns on the exposure meter, and this is great, so you can save the batteries. The battery is supposedly originally was a mercury battery. You cannot find them anymore for the mercury and pollution, all these kind of things. So there are some compatible battery that is dry zinc or something like that, zinc air or something like that, that have the correct voltage, and I use this in this camera. Or you can use some modifier with the 1.5 volt battery. And I'm going to see if I can modify this camera to accept the modern 1.5 volt batteries and have a meter that is correct. As a camera, it's great that you have a few things that I really like. One is the ability to use both 120 and 220 film, just changing the pressure plate and a little switch for the counter. And that is not very important now, that it's very difficult to find 220 films, but I come from an era where 220 film was a lot available, so the fact to have it was kind of important. The sharpness of the lens is kind of very good. Compared to my Hasselblad, I'm still really on much prefer the quality, the sharpness of Hasselblad lenses. But this is pretty good. So very good camera. The focusing knob is very easy to use and has a beautiful scale for the depth of field, and this is very important, especially in a double reflex, because you don't see what the lens is, and so you have no way to check the depth of field if not with this scale. Control the camera is very easy. On the left, you have my left, you have the aperture knob, so you can check the aperture, control the aperture from 3.5 to 22, and on the right you can go with the shutter speed, and the shutter speed I don't remember, so it's 1 second the maximum, obviously with the B pose, and it's a 1/500 of a second for the shortest time. Obviously as a central shutter, so you can synchronize your flash on all the shutter speed, and this is another great thing, especially if you use this camera in a studio environment, or if you use flash as a fill light, you can really control the fill light and control the camera, so this is great. Another great aspect of this camera is very easy to operate. I mean, you advance the film with this lever and go back to cocked shutter, and something that I really love, it's here, let me put 1/25 of a second, here is it's very silent. So it's very nice to have a camera that is silent, can be used in an environment where you don't want to be noticed too much. Hasselblad, I love that, but it's really noisy with the mirror. So this is very good if you want to be silent. To frame and focus, it's kind of easy. If you are used to a viewfinder like this, it's very easy. You have a lens that goes up, that can be used to has an eye to check the focus, and it's very easy to use. It's a very great position, great lens, so it's very easy to use. And another thing that there's in the viewfinder, if you need to take very quick pictures, you can open this, that is considered the sport viewfinder, and at this point you can just put your eyes in this little window here, and you can frame on the other side, and it's perfect. It's very easy, and I tried a couple of shots like that, easy to use. what I really don't like much about this camera is the position. I still have to find a way to properly keep this camera in my hands. These 4 feet here are very nice because you can use any surface to put your camera and use it as a tripod, but when you have the camera in your hand are kind of annoying, and I still have to find the right way to put the shutter. If I use my thumb and my index on the other to regulate the camera, I kind of have the camera not perfectly in touch with the body. If I go up like this, I don't arrive with the thumb to regulate the camera. So I still have to find a way, the proper way to use this camera. What I noticed on the first roll especially, that I introduced some shaking when I took the picture. Micro shaking, but was there. So on the second roll was better, but still I have to get used to this. I don't know if it's a defect of the design or is something just you have to get used to it. I much prefer Hasselblad on my hands. I can shoot with the 80mm on Hasselblad. I have no problem to do the 30th of a second, and if I'm really concentrate, I can do a 15th of a second freehand without many problem. This one I noticed that 60th of a second, and I tend to be off. So I really don't know exactly how I have to keep this camera in my hands to not shake it while I press the shutter. But that is just my little opinion, my personal experience in this. The other thing is fantastic is, okay, you close, the exposure meter is shut off so you don't waste the battery, and to load the camera it's very easy. You just open the back and you can select the plate for 120 or 220 film. And one thing I noticed, when you load the camera, there's the paper that goes on the spool on the side spool, and sometimes the paper, what tends to do is, instead of sitting in the internal part of the spool, it tend to sit on the top part of the spool, so it stays at some distance from the central part of the spool. When you close the camera and start to roll, the first thing is straight the paper inside instead of pulling the film straight away, and in the case you lose one image on the film, the first image on the film. So be very sure when you put the paper in the camera, be very sure that the paper is going against the inner part of the spool and is tightening on it. So you are sure that when you advance, the film advance and you are okay. You don't waste the paper. So absolutely fun camera. Great camera. You can find them around, the prices are skyrocketing as everything else, also because there's so much inflation that everything is skyrocketing, but and also there's a lot of requests for film camera right now. So if you find around one like this perfectly working and money are not a problem, yeah, get one. It's fun to use, it's a nice experience. If you're looking for something on the cheap side, look for a model that doesn't have the exposure meter, like I think is the B or something like that, or one with the exposure meter that is not working. It's not a big deal. You can use the Sunny 16, and I use it a lot of times and always works, or you can use an external meter. In any way, these exposure meter are just an indication, are not precise. You don't know the field that is in the meter and all this kind of thing. So don't be too worried about the exposure meter. Eventually use an external meter or the Sunny 16. For all the rest is absolutely fantastic. Something you have to check is that the lens are clean. it's very easy to have the lens with fog inside. So at the end there are two things. One, if someone knows how to bypass this 15 minutes limit of the X-T20, I will be happy, because it's very annoying to have to see the lights on the camera goes out and have to stand up, go and restart the camera, and you lose where you were. So if you know that, please tell me. About the camera, this is basically all. Beautiful camera, worth to buy. A really nice experience. It's very fun to use, and it's very silent. So these are the pros. The lens is absolutely good, with let's say a lot of personality, and the viewfinder is absolutely bright and fantastic, and makes it easy to focus the camera. Beautiful camera. Get one if you find one, and have a lot of fun with it. This said, thank you for watching the video. If you want to support the channel, check out my books, Lasting Photographs, Photography the F Manual, and Inject Fine Art Printing. And this is the best way to support the channel. Thank you very much for watching the video, and see you next time with another camera.